Alright guys, you see what I have in my hand here. I have red and black wire which goes to the motor, okay? And they have that intermixed and twined up, I guess, with the data wires and control wires. That to me is noisy. I don't want any noise interfering with all that stuff, so I'm going to separate them. I'm just going to untwine it and separate the motor wires from the control connections. That's just another good thing to do. You don't have to do it, but I'm going to do it just to make sure there's no interference with the motor and the circuitry causing any other issues. Okay, so just a last note I wanted to make sure I let you know. I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Just got to untwine it and get it out of the way. And also these plugs, they only go one way, so as you can see right there, it goes in that way. They don't clip in, they just slide in. And from the looks of it, this wire here got pretty kind of cramped right there. I don't know if you can see it. You probably can. Now that I zoomed in, cramped right here. It might have been touching metal or something. I don't know. I could see a little bit of copper. So I'm going to tape that up with some red tape and put it, rod it in an appropriate manner so that I would not have any interference as much as possible. Or as less interference as possible is what I'm looking for here. Alright. I don't know why they always twine wires together. I mean, this is going to the motor, but still, I don't think it's a good idea to have it all tangled up. This is just an easy way to get wires burnt up in here. I don't know how this passed QC, but I would have had both these wires insulated with a little thicker insulation on them if I was to engineer this. So just cleaned up the mess there. Control wires are going their own way over here on the control side. I'll zoom in a moment here so you can see where I put them. Definitely make them to where they're not next to the screw holes. Okay, this looks like it'll be a good spot. Let me make sure and tape that up. Got some tape laying here somewhere. Oh, I got a few more pieces of red tape left. This would be the end of my tape. Lovely. Okay. Tape up that chafing it had there. Kind of showed some bare wire to it. So now I can either use a zip tie on this or just wrangle it in there somewhere. Somehow. And I'll show you the end result. Or my result anyways. It was on the left. Sweet. Okay, so I put the Just bring that out so you can see here. Control board wires, I put them on this side. They were all tangled up over there in a mess, and they were going onto that board. It's ridiculous. You know, what if the board burnt, and then these wires burnt? Cause a major catastrophe. Even worse than you would ever want to see there. Alright, so and then the motor wires, I routed them around here. I had to tape up that because it showed some bare wire on it. And separated them. So they're both separated now. That's how I did it. That's how I'm going to do it. And I don't care what anybody else does, but I do recommend not having motor wires tangled up with control wires. It's just, you know, this thing, noise affects it. So, and you want these motors running perfectly at all times if possible. Alright. So now I'm going to make sure the satellite LNB wires, the tape is still on. There's tape to the side of this fork. So I'm going to put some masking tape. Not the greatest tape, but it's working. And make sure they're not touching the circuit board. Make sure all the wires plugged back in. Nothing came out. And drop her in gently. You definitely don't want your LNB wires touching the circuit board if you can, so lift it up against the housing if you can, or tape it. Tape it onto it. Oh, let's see, it has to slide down in there first. Okay. Now the thing is, when you're putting it back on, you gotta have that slide flat against it, and then you can get it in perfectly. Alright. Now I know which screws I had. I put them where I took them off at. Put these screws in the exact same order I pulled them out at. Don't worry if you're taking this fork arm off and you are pulling these screws, right, and one falls down in there, as long as you don't have it plugged in, you're fine, because once you take this off, you'll find it. It's pretty spacey in there. Good enough amount of space there to work with. Just don't lose your tool in there while you're doing this, so you don't have to take it off again. You don't want to flip this thing upside down and try to flip it telescope inverted, try to get something out of there. Not cool. I try to just barely tighten these in this manner, just barely, because this fork, you know, I use my finger, I use finger tight, not real rough with it, just barely turn it. Oop, wrong way, this way. Okay, because this thing really, it's fork mounted and you want everything to be solid, you know. When you're doing astrophotography, you don't want any play, if at all possible, with this, where the telescope shaft aligns with the fork. So I try to get these good and snug to where I have no play. I'll give one more once over because I really want to get good photographs. And I don't want any glitches. I don't want any movements on this fork. I know exactly what torque I need to put on it anyway, so I'm not really going to overdo it now. I guess I could put